It looked like a dog, you know. They call it like the dog man or something. I mean, this thing was built. I mean, this thing was rugged. I mean, it's something I wouldn't want to tangle with it, you know.
One night, I'm sitting there and I had a dead body in my bed.
Yes, that's when I started hearing the doors opening and closing and them walking through the house.
Giant ruby-looking thing appeared in front of me. Then one next to it. Then a third next to it. The third one opened up a porthole in my room.
Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome to Myths, Monsters, and Mullets. I am your host, John Methenkamp, and tonight's episode is a little different. With the holidays, I decided to release this one a little early. This is a continuation of the discussion we had with the drones that was released the Saturday before Christmas. And it features a guest who is from my hometown. And I had to do a lot of editing on this one because a lot of names were dropped and locations. But I wanted to give everybody a sneak peek as to what happens in the live. And hopefully you want to join us. If you have a paranormal encounter you would like to share, you can email me at mythsandmullets@gmail.com. You can follow me on Facebook, Myths, Monsters, and Mullets. Send me a message there. Or you can join the lives by following the link in the description every Sunday night at 7 p.m. Hope you enjoy the show.
Yeah, we don't get any snow here. It's been 3 solid years that I haven't seen a snowflake.
I like the snow.
I love the snow. I miss it. It doesn't feel like Christmas without it being cold and snowy. It was 70 out here the other day. It was weird.
Becca's over here like, I want to move to Virginia.
You'll miss the snow. I'm telling you, you will. You will. It'll get Christmas, and when you're cooking hamburgers and hot dogs on Christmas Day, you'll be like, man, this is crazy. Sounds cool until you want snow for Christmas. Just for Christmas.
It's a B-Town reunion in here. Now we got Amy. Amy's in here.
Hi, Amy. Yeah, Amy's been down here to my house.
Yeah.
Amy Lynn. How are you, sweetie?
We might as well just be doing alumni in my live from now on. We got like 4 or 5 people in here from the hometown.
Hey, keeping it alive. Hey, come in and tell a ghost story, Amy. I know you guys have to have something to say. You got to have at least a story or something.
Amy, you got anything paranormal you would like to add to the conversation? Because we need some ghost stories. Have you seen Bigfoot in there in B-Town? Or, I don't know, you seeing drones ever? We already did our drone conversation. Matthew, I know you do, but remember I put a 2-drink maximum on my lives. And the Steelers played today, so I know you're over your 2-drink maximum.
Yeah, we want to hear about it.
Amy, you want to come in and talk about it? Because I'm going to send you an invite, and then you can decide whether you want to be in here or not.
Yeah, we definitely want to hear about it.
Sometime, but not tonight.
Because she definitely lived in an old house out there on I know the house she lived in too. Ooh, I want to hear this.
What's happening?
Am I here? What the hell's happening?
Well, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
I can hear you, but
talk right now.
Just because nobody wants to see me. How do I make this shit go away? Look, I ain't ever done.
Hey,
I'm good.
Hey. Language. Watch the language.
No, I mean, sorry, you guys.
I can handle it. TikTok can't.
I have no idea what you guys were even talking about. I just came on and I saw it was you two, and I'm like, okay, we got to go see what these guys are saying.
We do paranormal encounters every Sunday and Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern time.
Oh,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
sounds exciting.
It's fun.
So when I lived in the big house across the street from the library,
Oh boy.
um,
Yes, yes.
and you can ask anybody that ever lived in that house, they've all got stories. So one night I'm laying in bed, and so John, you would know this. If you were standing at the gas station looking at that big brick house, okay, where like the wheelchair ramp came up and then that like side door, straight above that was a window, and that was my bedroom. So prior to me moving in, Krista would say that when her brother lived in the house, she knew nobody was home and she'd see the light come on. So I'm laying there in bed one night. Now, all five of my kids were spending the night with their grandma. I don't know where my ex husband was, downstairs or at a friend's or something. And I'm laying in bed and I feel, you know, like when your kid comes up and like nudges you and says, like, Mommy, I had a bad dream or whatever. So this something moves my body and like moves my arm to where it's like moving back and forth, and I hear mommy, mommy, and nobody's in my house at all. And I wake up and I'm like, what? And then I see my door close. Serious, I'm not making this up at all. But I was never scared, ever scared. So one morning Eric was up and I'm taking the kids all to school and getting them ready and stuff. You know, I'm like, hurry up, come on, we're going to be late, you know, typical stuff. Get them all in the car. I drive them to school. I come back and he said, hey, are you going to take Marissa to school? I said, what the heck are you talking about? I already took kids to school. He said, Amy, Marissa just went around the corner. I swear I was just talking to her. He said this little girl looked identical to Marissa.
Really?
I would do people's hair. And this lady at the gas station, one day she said, I was doing her hair and she said, Amy, do you have a ghost? I said, what, why? She said, well, one, my neck just got super cold and it's like really warm in here. She said, but two, your little girl, didn't you just say she was like upstairs? And I said, yeah. And she goes, then who's that little girl that just poked her head around the corner?
Wow.
No, no. Yeah, I do. I have a ghost. So here was my
Awesome.
crazy theory. Okay. So the house straight across from Fanchon, great big brick house, looks similar to mine. So you know that originally my house was Doc Armour's house and his office. Then he built the house right next door that was this really tiny little brick place that was just his office. And he moved to the house across from Fanchon. So when I forget her name, another family from grew up there. They lived there, her and her husband and her kids. Her husband thought she was crazy when she would tell him about this like ghost that she would see or this entity or whatever. And you can ask Fanchon this. And um, she would see it, like she'd be laying in bed and she'd like see it above her. And he's like, whatever, you know, like, where are you getting these bruises? She said, I'm telling you, this thing is beating me up or whatever. One night he could see her physically being like held down and she is screaming bloody murder. They moved. So that one was like scary in that house. Do what?
How long ago was that?
I don't know, like 20 years ago, 25 years ago, maybe.
Okay.
I mean, it was before I lived in my house, but, huh?
I was trying to figure out who it was, but I wouldn't have known who that was at that time.
If I heard the name, I would know it. It was, because it was like a little bit of a different name.
Okay.
But anyway, so here was my crazy theory. Because those whatever lived in that house was negative. It was not nice. Whatever lived in my house was super sweet, looked just like Marissa. It was clearly a little girl. My thought was years and years ago when my house was Doc Armour's house and office, I'm assuming that someone brought their child for him to fix their child. I assume that child ended up dying, and that little girl stayed in that house. Parents probably followed him because they were angry with him. And the little, I mean, that's all I can figure out. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't, you got something better?
No, that's very possible. I mean,
I remember it was so well known that Chad in the bar one night when I still worked at the bar, back like at the corner bar where you bounced. And I mean that figuratively and literally, like when you bounced out on your head. And yeah.
that
So
was
anyway,
one time,
that's a
okay, and I
different story.
all right.
Anyway, he came in one night. He said, "Hey, is your house really haunted?" And I said, "I mean, yeah." And he's like, "Oh, I couldn't live there." I said, "Chad, it's not like we sit down for dinner and plates start hitting the wall." He said, "Yeah, I still couldn't do it. I couldn't do it." She said she would purposely put something, I forget what it was. It was like I don't know, say it was an ashtray. On that enclosed porch, she'd put it in a certain spot every day. And every day it would be moved and nobody would be there.
All right. I've been in that house a lot, you know,
Yeah,
so yeah.
lots of things.
Yeah, that's
Crazy.
crazy.
I'm gonna
I've
have
also
to.
heard stories about the railroad tied to that house as well.
But you know,
So
it was never scary. Anything that happened in my house was never scary. That's who lived in the house across from Harm. Yes, there you go.
yep.
Ask
Huh.
Pansion. It was her. But
Oh
now
yeah, that
her house, it wasn't sweet, from what I understand.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into some of
Yep,
this.
pretty trippy.
yeah.
Now the house that burned down on Klinger, before I lived in it, my friend lived in it, and I had my 20th birthday party there.
That used to be
And
Hong's old house.
yeah, but prior to that, it was I think the owned it when Jenny Kane lived there. So I'm spending the night with Jenny one night, and it's just me and her there, and it's dark in the living room. We've got the TV on or whatever, and in the kitchen there was just like maybe a night light. Well, all of a sudden on the ceiling you could see the shadow of somebody coming through, but nobody was there. Well, then what was it? There was something else that had happened. But then later on, my brother-in-law lived in that house, and there was they went to bring a dog in, and this dog went psycho, like would not come in, and just like fixed its eyes on something kind of like up by the ceiling, and was just going nuts. Now
Huh.
I didn't experience a whole lot of anything in that house. The one in town, the one in town has a lot going on in it. And I don't know if that Sally experiences anything, but everybody prior to her,
And
there was a lot.
she's too
Do
mean.
I?
She's
Stop. She is not mean.
she's
But anyway, there was a lot of action in that house. A lot of stuff going on.
Yeah,
Yep. I used to always tell John him to come to that house and do a thing.
I need to get him to come in my live.
Yeah. Yep.
Yes,
He
you
definitely
should.
like it.
What's that all about? I wasn't even thinking about him
Oh yeah.
doing the paranormal stuff.
No
Might
doubt.
get him in the live. I'm sure he's got plenty of stories.
I can't
See,
believe that. So do I look like I look right now, or is this just my picture? Because all I can see is my picture.
you're
It's just
beautiful, just the way you are.
camera
Listen,
on.
I just need to apologize then because I've been working on pantry stuff all day long. So,
Oh,
um,
that
but
camera's not.
I've never been live on TikTok ever in my life. I
You
didn't know
have
I was doing
tonight.
this. Okay, except leave it to you two hillbillies.
Leave it to Beaver.
Oh dear God.
Look at that, Mark.
Do what?
I resemble that remark.
Yeah.
You do.
All right. Well, I got stuff to do, but you're welcome for the stories.
I
Well,
appreciate it.
if you think of any more, because this is what happened to me, is I come into John and I told some stories that I got off the phone. I end up having like 15 others come back to
Oh,
me like
yeah.
throughout the
Yeah, of
week.
course.
So come back like either tomorrow or next weekend or next Sunday and tell us the stuff that you recall throughout the week that you forgot about.
All right. I will. I'll be
Awesome.
busy tomorrow handing out Christmas, but
All
Merry
right.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Good seeing you, Howie. Always
Bye.
good seeing
Good
you,
to see you
John.
too, darling.
I'll see you on Craigslist, John.
That's right.
Okay. See ya. How do I get out of this thing?
I'll kick you out.
Okay, great. I appreciate that.
Bye.
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 So funny story. I'm gonna go ahead and tell this story. I'm gonna have to. I may have to cut like half of this live
Sorry,
out.
John.
It happens sometimes. But Amy and I, we both worked at the bar, and one night we were just in there drinking, and this guy comes up. He was an older gentleman. He started like hitting on Amy, and he said something about, "Are you two together?" And I was like, "Well, we just met tonight." He said something about she bought me on Craigslist or something like that. The guy believed it. He believed it. He was able to drink that night. So that's been a running joke between the two of us. Is that's the best purchase we made on Craigslist. So
That's funny. That's funny. I thought you just selling a bunch of stuff on
she said
Craigslist
she
all
says
the
the
time.
story right. Hang on. I did tell the story right. She's got to tell the story right. I'm kind of
Up to this point, I've been relying on TikTok to record all of my lives for me. I've recently upgraded my audio, which hopefully you can tell in these voiceovers. But by relying on TikTok, sometimes the audio doesn't download the way it sounded in real life. So when Amy comes back in, she's going to tell a story, which I think is funny and I wanted to include, but the audio kind of got screwed up. Moving forward, I'm going to be recording all of my shows on my computer. That way I have a little more control. After she leaves the chat, the audio does clear up. Thank you for being patient.
half of this. This is ridiculous. Okay, so
You're mixing up two different stories, John.
oh, okay.
The corner bar, it was Bicycle Dan was giving me a hard time. Remember the guy we used to call Bicycle Dan? So
Yeah.
he would not leave me alone, and you came up to him and said, "Hey, listen, you need to leave her alone." And he's like, "Well, why? Why? Are you guys close?" And you said, "Look, we went to high school together at different times." Remember that? And then you said, "We're like this." And he said, "Oh man, I didn't know. I'm so sorry." A few days later, you and I just decided to go up to Main Street Bar and Grill
That's right.
to drink. And there was a lady that said, "Well, how long you guys been together?" She was so trash, Howie. And it's her and John and me. And John said, "I got this." He goes, "Oh, we just met today. She picked me up. She bought me on Craigslist." And I said, "Best purchase ever."
Best purchase ever.
Oh my Lord, that was hilarious. And she said, "Oh, that's cool. That's cool."
Oh, God. That's fucking
Oh yeah,
hilarious.
crazy times. But all right, I really am leaving now. I love you both.
Love you too, Amy. Yeah, she's been down at my place. She's been
Oh,
down
really?
here. Spent the week. Spent a week. A good long weekend down here. We partied, had a good time.
Yeah. I'll call you in a little bit, Matthew. Maybe.
I've seemed to save people on vacation money. They come to my house, stay here, and then they go to Virginia Beach for the day and have a good time, and they don't have to really spend a lot of money for their vacation to go to the beach.
You know what I just heard? We got invited to Virginia.
Yes, you did. You're welcome down here anytime. You got Virginia Beach, Yorktown, Williamsburg, Busch Gardens, all the good stuff right here, right around.
All right.
You're welcome anytime. Bring anybody you want.
Everybody's invited. That's what I heard. Anybody that's in the chat right now is invited to Howie's house.
As long as you're related to Mr. John up here.
Oh, okay.
Cindy, you can come too.
This live is just falling off the rails. I can't even see the track anymore. That's how far off we're up here. Do we have anybody in here that has a paranormal encounter, or do we just want to, reminisce?
Sounds good.
Yeah. Who all we got in here? Jacob's in here. Curse Dolls. Curse Dolls is in here. Are you ready to tell your story? Yeah, go on. Oh.
Skyrim. Who's that?
That's my stepdaughter.
Oh, cool.
Good night, Cindy.
Good night, Cindy.
Good night, John Boy.
Good night, Paul.
And that's it for tonight. I hope you enjoyed the show. Once again, if you have a paranormal encounter you'd like to share, you can contact me at mythsandmullets@gmail.com or join the live by following the link in the description. You can also find me on Facebook at Myths, Monsters, and Mullets. Happy New Year, everyone.